Hello and welcome everyone to the ISCA Thursday Cup Series here as we have the Home Depot 250 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And if anybody knows the recent reconfiguration of this racetrack, they have turned it essentially into a super speedway. Definitely going to be some high octane action here this Thursday night, and I can't wait to see what happens here. I think a lot of different drivers are going to have the chance to win as we see practice actually is starting to ramp up. Of course, my name's Brian Britt, and I'm joining the booth by none other than Big Al. How are you doing this evening, Big Al?
Doing pretty good, Brian. Looks like we're back on the East Coast and primarily in the South. Georgia, to be exact, man. And I'm going to tell you, it feels good to be back from out west.
Yeah, it definitely does. And we definitely finished our West Coast swing, if you will, and now are deep in the south of Georgia right now. Of course, let's talk a little bit about the race facts here for tonight's race. 250 miles, 163 laps, so quite a long one we have in front of us here, but I think it's going to go fly by very quickly, just considering the speeds these guys are going to be hitting around this racetrack. Stages are 35 and 75. 5 sets of tires, going to be 4 actually down in the pits. Of course, fuel window is about 65 laps. You can go further than that from what I've been seeing in the A Opens. But that all depends on your draft and also what line you're running as well. Because if you run that top line, you're going to find that you're going to be burning a lot more fuel. Of course, qualifying is kind of happening at the moment. And this is going to be something we're going to want to watch, Big Al. Because, I mean, these guys, when they're out there practicing their race pace, setups or whatever, they're not struggling. But when you go out there and you try to qualify, it is going to be quite a loose experience. It's definitely going to be something we're going to want to watch to see if anybody is able to actually get a qualifying time in, because it's very difficult to do so. But if you are able to get through these laps, I do believe we're going to see some really fast laps. So see Josh Schaffner out there qualifying as well. Brandon Pasalacqua, J.C. Evans. While we're waiting for qualifying to finish, let's actually look at the point standings for the Cup Series.
Yeah, that Super Cup Series, right? Because Season 2 starts tonight, ladies and gentlemen. You got here just in the nick of time.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's exactly right, because I do believe last week was actually just a kind of preseason race. Of course, it did count towards the Super Cup season. But Brandon Pasalacqua, at the moment, is at the top of the board. Now, he has not won a race yet in the Super Cup season. Of course, he's won races before this season. But he has been the picture of consistency. As you can see, 3 top 5s. He's also gotten some playoff points from stage finishes. Of course, Kenny Powell sits in second place, but quite a big distance there, 29 points. Of course, this is a race where you could make up that 29 points if Brandon Pasalacqua possibly has a bad night, and it's easy to have a bad night because there's no fast repairs, and these guys are going to be going over 190 mile an hour. Scott Naslin, though, sits in third place. Brian Johnson, he's gotten a win this season. He's in fourth. Greg Wachinski's in fifth place. Derek Heitman's gotten a win, and he's in sixth, but I do not believe Derek Heitman is going to be here this evening just because of Road to Pro. Chris Johnson is in seventh. Josh Schaffner is in eighth. Jose Acosta ninth. And David Miller rounds out our top 10 points right now. I don't see Miller actually in the field, and I'm looking, I don't see Jose Acosta as well. So those guys might drop down the board a little bit further, Big Al.
Indeed, man. And that's not what you want. You don't want to spot anybody a championship. Josh Schaffner did that there just last season, as he did not get a chance to compete there and solidified Kenny Powell's championship there. So your attendance matters.
It very much does. And and these guys have real life stuff that they have to do. Of course, if you were like in the actual NASCAR Cup Series, yeah, you don't miss a race, but these guys have lives outside of this, jobs and families and stuff like that. So a lot of times that does impede them, and that's kind of what happened with Schaffner. I do believe he had to travel for business, if I'm not mistaken, but that's just the name of the game. Sometimes that's the way it kind of rolls, and you could lose a championship just based on that, and it's definitely always a heartbreaker. See these guys, one thing about Atlanta, you can actually use this apron in qualifying, which you can use the apron in the race as well, but that's going to be a deadly thing. Just like almost with, I think, Phoenix Raceway, we kind of saw where guys using that dog leg. It's very similar here at Atlanta. Of course, you're going a whole lot faster through there, and guys don't have to let you up off of that apron, and that could be a big point of contention this evening.
Yeehaw, man. Lots of guys qualifying tonight here. Looks like at least the top 14 15, going to go 16. Top 17 drivers putting times on the board there. Guess I should have waited there at least until we got a couple more rounds in before I gave out that last final number here. So that's just showing us one thing. That's showing us that guys are valuing track position. And it looks like qualifying time is slowly coming to an end. We're going to step away, play that national anthem, and we'll be right back with your starting lineup.
Oh, say, can't you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Race fans, it is time for those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engines!
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so comfortable, bro. We get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
We decided it's time to put a different kind of power tool in your hands. Store Mode in the Home Depot app gives you in-store tools made to help you get more done. To guide you every step of the way and explore products quickly with the scan. That way you get the top brands at the best prices without missing a beat. It's made for doing. Download the Home Depot app and see how doers get more done.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We have our grid set for this evening's action. Brian Johnson going to be qualifying on the pole position with Chris Johnson starting in second place. Brandon Pasalacqua starts in third with Randy Mullins in fourth place. Fifth place, Greg Wachinski. Josh Schaffner in sixth. 7th place, Mark Sanchez, Greg Carr in 8th. 9th place, Dave Few Jr. And rounding out our top 10 is Scott Naslin.
Yo, Scott Naslin, 10th place, 11th place is going to be Derek Jacobs. He's going to have Corey Saucier on his outside there. 13th will be Darian Mullins with Al Kozlowski lining up in the 14th. 15th, J.C. Ellens with Blair Holloman, alongside him. Kenny Powell back in 17th with Paul Osen along his outside. And then on that last row is going to be Ryan Strunk with Robert Matthews in that 20th position.
And here we go, everybody getting them doubled up and ready to get going here tonight at Atlanta. Definitely going to be some tricky restarts, I would say, here, Big Al. This is where a lot of guys are going to get positions. They're going to all probably be starting in first gear as well.
Well, and that's one of the advantages for this, this 7th gen car right here, man. You get the opportunity of the 5-speed sequential transmission, but it's time to pay some bills. A lot of these guys have been kind of off. Season 2 is starting. It's a great opportunity for you to do just that. Solidify yourself a spot up to the top. Get out there and run the 99 Christy Johnson. Got to give a shout out to him as he is rolling out there in that Ford Mustang Southern Spiral Pipes.
Yeah, we actually have Chris Johnson up on the screen here as he starts up on that high side. His brother Brian Johnson on the bottom. Pace car has dipped down pit road, and we're getting ready to enter the Geico restart zone, and the green flag is out for the first time here in the night. What a big run there from Brandon Passalacqua up to the rear end of the 4 of Brian Johnson. This is going to be a track where you can push. I talk about this being like a super speedway. Well, it is just like a super speedway. You're able to connect bumpers, and we could even see some tandem drafting towards the later portions of this race.
And that is exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to bring that feel that you get there on those super speedways to this Atlanta track. So you get that kind of in a smaller package. So expect to see super speedway tendencies from a lot of these drivers as they're going to be jockeying for position here. Looks like lap 1 is in the books. Going around to lap 2, Brian, so far. What do you think? What are your aspirations? What do you expect to see here from tonight's competition?
Well, I definitely expect to see at some point a large wreck. Of course, at super speedways, you always wait for that so-called big one to kind of happen, and I think that's going to be something we're definitely going to see here in this evening's race as we see Mark Sanchez leading the top line right now side by side with Al Kozlowski. Of course, Sanchez actually back in, I do believe, 10th place at the moment, so top line starting to get really disorganized. But what I expect to really see is guys switching lanes, guys working together, teammates being the valuable commodity, I'd say here. Also, tire wear is unlike a super speedway where you will see guys have actual tire wear over a good long run. So let's say if they made the whole fuel window 65 laps, by the end of that, these guys are going to be down to 70% on the tires. So that could be something that definitely, it definitely warrants going down pit road and taking tires when you do get that opportunity.
Yeah, especially with this new damage model. That's one of the things that you get the opportunity to see. Another thing that I want to bring that plays into the whole factor here tonight, Brian, is we've got a lot of different teams within the ISCA now. Looking like we've got the Rat Pack team, Team Birdie Racing, we've got Bullring Racing, and don't forget the ever so dominant G&G guys. Coupled with a couple other independents, man. Right now, we got ourselves a mix of a great season here, kicking off season 2. I'm excited.
Yeah, 100%. This is definitely going to be a big stepping off point if these guys want to go for that 13-week season cup championship. Brian Johnson, though, in the lead, and I think that he's going to probably stay in the lead for quite a while. I don't think Brandon Passalacqua is going to want to really challenge. I think that he's in a good spot, especially this is the kind of practicing you want to do for the later stages of this race. Now, fuel's not going to be a concern in this first stage. We know it's 35 laps. But still, you do want to get into that habit to where you don't want to be leading a pack because you will be burning a lot more fuel than the rest of these drivers. As we see, has single file out for the most part in the top 10. Al Kozlowski leading the top line. Of course, he's all the way back, I do believe. Now he is scored in 10th, so they might be making a little bit of a run. But it seems like the top line not as strong as I've seen it in previous races here. I've done a few A Opens. And a lot of times those A Opens have turned into utter wreck fest. But, of course, we know ISCA known for the, awesome talent. I mean, all these drivers deserve to be here. They're all fast in their own right. And I think it'll be a lot cleaner than what we see in the official competition.
And that's going to add another level of competition here, Brian, because what's going to happen is these guys are probably going to have to contend with something they really hadn't had to deal with thus far in the A Opens. That is, man, being out there on tires for extended periods of time. Like you said, you could possibly run up to 65, upwards of 65 laps here on a tank of gas. But the question is going to be, as this race continues within the green flag conditions, how's that car going to handle?
100%. We got Chris Johnson's face up on the camera once again here, and we're also looking through the cockpit camera here of Chris Johnson. You can see the speeds these guys are reaching on these straightaways, 180 plus mile an hour. I kind of thought it was faster. I think we're going to see even higher speeds though on this backstretch. As you can see, just how kind of crazy it is to sit behind someone. Visibility definitely low, just like any other super speedway. It's so hard to see that bottom line or that yellow line at the other tracks. But this is actually a red and white, so a little bit different here.
Oh, and the one thing you don't want to do, don't get caught going beneath the red line. Oh my goodness. You'll get the voice audible warning, spotters going crazy, crew chiefs taking a day off. It's a mutiny. So that's one thing the drivers are definitely going to have to be cognizant of. You're not going to be able to actually go beneath that red line, especially to gain a position.
Well, that's not necessarily true here, Big Al. You can on this on the front stretch. You can go down there and actually advance your position. I don't know if you could do it on restarts, but I think you can actually, because you see Josh Schaffner dipping down below as well. A lot of these guys are using that dog leg a little bit to turn, especially on that bottom line. And I hate to, I'm not trying to argue with you. I just think
I love it.
Go down there.
Do you know how? I'm seldom wrong. So in order to please correct me. When you find me wrong, you got to take advantage of that situation because it doesn't happen that often, right?
That's right. You're right about that, Big Al.
That with a lot of sarcasm.
And look at that, though. Al Kozlowski, he was leading that top line, and he's been very persistent up there. They're starting to make some moves, and I think Mark Sanchez definitely has him a fast race car. You're only as good as your pusher, so I think that that top line really starting to come into their own. Maybe it's because they put some rubber up there finally. 12 laps complete so far. But you can see, I think, the power of the side draft as well. You see Al Kozlowski kind of coming down a little bit and side drafting, and that's breaking up that bottom line quite a bit. You see Greg Wyszynski with a few car lengths, about 2 or 3 car lengths to Chris Johnson. Now, that's not what you want to see. Al Kozlowski might have an opportunity to drop down here onto this bottom line.
And right now, there's really no need to risk it for the biscuit. I think these guys got plenty of time, and they're just trying to feel each other out, so to speak. That lead 3 doing everything they got to do. That's Brian Johnson, Brandon Pasalacqua, and the other brother Johnson, Chris D. Johnson, there in the 99. Those guys are leading this thing. Now, behind them, a little bit of pandemonium. Guys kind of feathered out, fanned out all over the place, really out there racing each other. Like you said, both the high line and the low line. Not yet buying into either or the other, and that's what I think we're going to be waiting to see.
Yeah, Mark Sanchez, of course, still making that high line work as Al Kozlowski kind of playing the Pied Piper, giving one line a run and then kind of going back up to the top. I think he's getting ready to get hung out to dry. 3 wide in the middle. Yeah, he gets close to Kenny Powell.
Kozlowski will not yield. I do know that. So he won't yield and he won't lift. So good luck pushing him into the corners and in the angles and positions that he doesn't like.
I'm wondering what happened to the 74 of Robert Matthews. He's back here in 20th, 20 seconds behind the pack. And just like any super speedway, you don't want to be by yourself because this is a track where your lap times are all based on the draft that you have.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually gridded it and started with the field or if he actually started down on pit road. I'm not sure. I think he might have started on pit road from his pit box, and that put him off the pace right there because I did not see him once we did do the grid.
Well, that's interesting to note. Maybe he thought that it was a safe bet that they were going to wreck here. And they still could. They still could.
I mean, that does happen a lot, Brian. You know, if you think about it, just in especially on the first lap at a super speedway, and also Robert Matthews not being a staple in this league. I think this is his first race, if I'm not mistaken.
I think I've seen him before, but not often. I think, yeah, he is very, very new to this series, as we see a lot of moving around here. Now, this one thing we talked about, I know I was talking to some of the drivers before the race, and they were really practicing quite a bit before the event actually began, and they were really insinuating or, kind of talking about how important staying in line is. And it's so hard to predict someone's line, especially at this track. At Talladega and Daytona, it's a lot easier because, of course, as I mentioned before, you can go down there onto that apron like Kenny Powell's doing right now. But if you do that, everybody else is going to have a hard time staying in line with you. And as I mentioned before, they don't have to let you come back up off of that apron. And if they don't, there's going to be a big incident for sure. But like I said, I think the value here is learning who you can run with and who you can predict. Their lines, you know what I mean? Like, if you can follow in their tire tracks, you're going to find success.
And that's kind of odd because you've got a lot of cars that are kind of concentrated together, and some of these guys are on the same team, some of them aren't, but yet everyone is still trying to find their own line.
And look at this run here from Josh Schaffner. I was wondering why he was falling back so much, but I think he was trying to maybe possibly build up a run as he drives all the way up to Al Kozlowski's back bumper. Now I do believe, find himself in the 7th place position.
Yeah, totally came right underneath the 29, and that's going to be a Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, still side by side, even further back. I do see the 3 of, I do believe, Corey Saucier trying to make something happen there. He's in the 12th place position at the moment, side by side with Derek Jacobs. Now, Jacobs, I know we always talk about Derek Jacobs. We always say that, sometimes he has a lot of bad luck and stuff like that. But I think this is going to be a race that he's going to do well. He's actually won an A Open this week. And I was very impressed when I heard that. I was like, well, dang, we might see Derek Jacobs maybe even possibly with a top 5 or a win. That would be great to see. Still a long way to go. And I did notice that Robert Matthews has now gone 2 laps down. Looks like he's parked it on pit road.
And if my memory serves me correct, I think Derek Jacobs did pretty good here last year when we did the inaugural race at the Atlanta Speedway. So,
no, yeah, definitely. I think he had some bad luck towards the end, but he ran really strong all race long, if I'm not mistaken. So I definitely expect a lot from that driver. But I'm definitely loving how everybody's still pretty much staying right up in the draft here.
Yeah, and he's running right now up in the 11th, man. And I'm going to tell you, if he's actually able to even gain stage points here tonight, Brian, that's going to be key. So the stage points, that's going to work out in his favor if he can break into the top 10. And then if he can stay up there, because right now he is currently running 10th, we still got about 11, 12 laps left in this stage. But it's going to be interesting, man. Well, like you said, we're rooting for this guy.
Yeah, I definitely, for sure, I'm rooting for that 27. He's definitely getting some good runs as he's kind of getting a little bit of a sandwich action going on as the 54 catches up to the rear end. I'm looking at the 64 of Darren Mullins. Different paint scheme on that race car. I kind of didn't know who that was until I like that paint scheme, though.
Oh, yeah.
Sticks out.
He used to have a red and black paint scheme. Looks like he has traded it in for the yellow and white and black. Is that a Reaper scheme?
I think that's actually RaceEPI.com on the side of that. So I think he's definitely representing EPI. Glad to see he's found himself a good team. Seems like those guys have definitely helped them out a lot. I know Randy Mullins also, I do believe, a customer of theirs. The top line starting to move once again as Mark Sanchez starts to move forward. He's being followed by, I do believe, Scott Naslin. Now, Scott Naslin, he has been the one to watch, wouldn't you say, Big Al? I mean, the last couple races we've seen him in, he's got like second place.
Yeah, 2 second-place finishes is what he actually comes into this thing with. And hopefully, he can dial it in. But I think that this Atlanta Speedway is going to ride a lot like the Super Speedway, meaning that you're going to have to just really play your luck. This is a Vegas thing where, it's not necessarily about who's the fastest. I think it's about being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that it's all going to be about your decision making and putting yourself in that right place as well. A lot of these guys have equal race cars, so I feel like it shouldn't be too difficult if you're in the right place. I mean, like Brian Johnson, we talked about everybody qualifying essentially. I mean, most of the field qualified, and it really shows how important track position is. I mean, Brian Johnson so far has led, it seems like, every lap of this race, and it seems like that's the key, qualifying up front. But all it takes is one bad bump from Brandon Ponsalacqua that sends him around, and I think that's what these guys are kind of not driving as hard as they could. And I know I was talking to Josh Schaffner a little bit before the race, and he mentioned that you can actually push in the corners at this racetrack, and that's not something you can usually do at Talladega or Daytona. But of course, that is a very risky maneuver, considering if you're pushing when you're on the exit of the corner, you're going to find that other person spinning out, and it could be very ugly for sure, because a lot of these accidents that happen at this racetrack, they all shoot up to the top of the track.
But I want you to understand, though, this track was pretty much designed for this car by this program. So if there's ever a way to truly exploit something, I think the drivers are going to have to grow into the capabilities of the car on this track. I think they haven't pushed their limits just yet, but I do believe you're going to see some pretty exciting racing as we continue to develop both the series and racing on this track.
Yeah, I'm definitely of the opinion, though. I always love the old Atlanta, but this is a fun track. I mean, I talk about doing opens this week and stuff like that, and they've been a lot of fun, but the only bad thing is they usually end in tragedy.
But this is the first racetrack that NASCAR truly leaned on iRacing in order for the creation of. So, I mean, I think, and with this next gen car, it was pretty much developed to run on this track. So I think this is going to provide us countless years of entertainment here in Atlanta.
And it'll be interesting to see also, because I know the reason that a lot of drivers loved the old version of Atlanta was because of the old surface. It was a lot more driver-centric. And I even think, even though this is a super speedway at the moment, I think as this track kind of progresses into asphalt, or kind of wears, it's going to get better, and it's going to change in a lot of regards.
Yeah, and another thing too, it's a new car and it's a new track. So the two have totally got to marry together. They have got to grow together. I think that's the one thing that NASCAR is kind of hinging its promise on, is that this track and this car will kind of marry and gel together.
Still seeing a lot of battling a little bit further back here. I'm looking at the 71 of Dave Few Jr., as he was able to just make the pass, I believe, on the 10 of Blair Holloman. Both of those drivers new into the league. Of course, right there in the mix is one of the old guard, Ryan Strunk. Now, this is a track that I think suits Ryan Strunk very much so, just considering we're always seeing him as the guy that kind of burns the tires up. But this is a track to where you can go nuts. It's not going to hurt you that bad.
Yeah, well, speaking of old guard, man, the last champion here coming into 3 wide, that's Kenny Powell. He started this thing all the way back in 17th position. Now he finds himself in 6th, battling with his G&G teammate Al Keselowski. Well, that's going to make Powell one of our biggest movers. Keselowski, though, being up in the 4th right now, is the current biggest mover.
Yeah, we do have a camera up on the screen right now showing Kenny Powell. Is he almost? Oh, he's going to turn the 5 of Greg Wyszynski.
Definitely had a little bit of, definitely heart rate's pumping right there. Is Wyszynski actually able to pedal through that turn?
Yeah, definitely good job for Greg Wyszynski to be able to keep it up. And he's going to be able to get back into the draft. I mean, you see the pack, Mark Sanchez and 10th coming up on him. Hopefully he's able to kind of get enveloped by these guys and get back into it. Of course, I do believe we are on the white flag.
Yeah. White flag for the stage. So he kind of got shuffled out of the points per se. No, he's still on 9th, so he'll be okay.
Yeah, he'll get a couple points, and that's the least you can ask for, especially when you got a 20-car field. I mean,
and Derek Jacobs, man, kudos to you, good sir, for bringing this thing home almost in 8th if he can actually keep it out. And that's right, caution is out for the stage.
Yep, Brian Johnson, your stage 1 winner. Brandon Ponsalacqua, second place. Chris Johnson in third. Al Kozlowski, fourth. Josh Schaffner, fifth. Kenny Powell in sixth. Darren Mullins, seventh. Derek Jacobs in eighth. Ninth place, Greg Wachinski. And rounding out our top 10 is Mark Sanchez. With that, we'll take a brief step away, and we'll be right back with Brian Johnson if we could talk to him.
We decided it's time to put a different kind of power tool in your hands. Store Mode in the Home Depot app gives you in-store tools made to help you get more done. To guide you every step of the way and explore products quickly with the scan. That way you get the top brands at the best prices without missing a beat. It's made for doing. Download the Home Depot app and see how doers get more done.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like pit stops are still taking place. Looks like Brian Johnson will win the race off pit road. Everybody, I do believe, took 4 tires and fuel. And I think that's going to be something we're going to see all night long. But let's see if we can't dial up our stage 1 winner, Brian Johnson.
I got you.
All righty, there he is, Brian Johnson. How you doing, man? It looks like a pretty good handling race car for you there. You led every lap so far.
Yeah, not too bad. We got some speed in the thing. Car's a little bit free on that run, but that's to be expected with this hot track. So it should come around as the race progresses here.
Now, I also, you've been in the clean air for the most part, and I know you've probably done quite a bit of practice and maybe even ran some races this week. What is the value of clean air versus dirty air here? You think that could be causing a little bit of handling difficulty as well?
Sure, being out front, it wears the rears a little bit more, and getting that push. But yeah, being out front is the place to be. You definitely stay out of trouble out here. So hopefully we can keep this Southern Spiral Pipe Chevy Chevrolet up front.
Now I know you got quite a bit of teammates up there as well. I'm sure you're going to be relying on them for sure, and they probably have a little bit of a game plan. I know the green flag is soon to be coming back out. Who can we give a shout out to after your stage 1 win?
Yeah, shout out to Southern Spiral Pipe, Butt Kicker, you guys up in the booth, and Brandon that run. He was an awesome pusher.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. It seems like you guys definitely have been working hard to make sure that you guys are kind of all in sync. Definitely important to be able to hold the same line for sure. But we'll let you get back to it, Brian. Congratulations on stage 1.
Thanks, guys.
That was Brian Johnson, our stage 1 winner. We are getting set to go back green here as we are filing onto the backstretch. Of course, Brandon Ponsalacqua is going to be starting up high. I'm wondering if the team orders here are going to be to everybody try to get down to the bottom and get in line, possibly, Big Al. Maybe some counting out when they're going. Of course, I do believe the Geico restart zone has kind of affected that in quite a way, though, to where you kind of know when that driver's going to go.
And I think that's the best thing about it. So I think you just sit back and you kind of push up on the leader just a little bit, and you kind of follow Brian's lead because he is going to lead us into the foreseeable future here. I don't see anybody else actually getting around him thus far, Brian.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to wait and see for sure. There's a lot of strong drivers out there that are going to be wanting to get their name atop of the pylon to get those points. Of course, stage points so important. Green flag is back out in the air. And Brian Johnson goes a bit early to allow Brandon Ponsalacqua to drop right in behind him. Of course, Chris Johnson also going to see if he can't get in line with these guys. Josh Schaffner, though, staying up on the top right now, I do believe side by side. He was side by side, I should say, with Darren Mullins. Darren Mullins has been having a really good night so far, been making a ton of moves up through this field.
Yeah, definitely representing that new paint scheme, and good on him for doing that. And also good on Derek Jacobs, as he has currently been running in the top 10 for pretty much the majority of the contest as well.
He definitely is finding himself in a little bit of a precarious situation, though, as he does have Only one driver behind him there on that top side. As he is still in the top 10. We'll have to wait and see, though. Can he get closer and closer to the front? He's got a pretty good pusher behind him. I think Ryan Strunk. Of course, now it looks like the top line starts to come together, and it happens so quickly as Al Kozlowski jumps up top, and also Scott Naslin.
Yeah, it's still a little early, though. I don't think they're going to gain anything. But Ryan Strunk also running a little bit of a different paint scheme as Al Kozlowski, going to make it almost a 3-wide situation as everybody's fanning around.
You can see the loose at 27 is definitely on the edge right now, and Al Kozlowski almost got hung out to dry, but I think Derek Jacobs kind of thought better of it. 3 wide, though, as we see Scott Naslin really close to the 77 as he's going to drop down in front of the 71, I do believe, of Dave Feud. But definitely a lot of battling going on here in stage number 2. A lot more battling than I think we saw in stage 1. I think guys know that, hey, I got to get closer to the front, especially when you get lined up for that final stage. Oh, a little contact with the outside wall. 3 wide again here, as it looks like Ryan Strunk touches that wall. Just a little kiss. He's got Blair Holloman right behind him. Oh, Holloman almost gets into it as well. When you're up there on that top line, it's so easy to get tight, especially with just all the turbulent air that is kicking off of these race cars.
And you can say that again, and that's exactly what these drivers are going to be battling, because with that diffuser set being the way it is and the spoiler set being the way it is, the one thing that they do experience is that it's the buffet of air coming off of the car in front of you, Brian. So if these guys are going to have to deal with that for the majority of the contest, only guy that had to deal with it thus far has been the forward Brian Johnson, as he has literally been out front for every lap thus far. Tell me track position doesn't matter.
Oh, it definitely does. And we're starting to see, you know, those guys having those difficulties kind of have separated them from the pack. As you see, I do believe the top 12 are all kind of together, a little over a second in between first and 12th. Of course, I do believe Corey Saucier right now sits in 13 leading this pack. So these guys are definitely going to have to get in line and really start to work hard, because you see Derek Jacobs is in there as well. He's back all the way to 17th now.
Yeah, you see Al Kozlowski being in 12th place, so he was the last driver to kind of get in line, if you will. Man, it just feels almost like, you know, it's not even socialism at this point, because, you know, if you don't get in line, you're going to really suffer here. That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, definitely. No, that is definitely a fact at the moment. You see this top 12 all kind of just content to just ride in line. But I know that there's some drivers in that top 12, though, that aren't going to be content to stay there very long.
You know, and it is early. I mean, you still got to get through this stage. There's still a long way to go in this stage. It's you know, still 26, 27 laps to go. So I think you do ride one behind another. You save gas that way, and you preserve your chance of actually making a run once there's maybe 2 laps to go.
Yeah, we look at the lap times right now. Of course, this front pack turning sub 30-second laps, 29.965 for Brian Johnson last time by. We look at the second pack, though, not going quite as fast, and that's definitely why I think that these groups have kind of split up, as we see J.C. Evans definitely trying to give some good pushes to the rear end of Saucier. But up front, looks like business as usual. He's going to stay in line. But, you know, I think at some point Passalacqua is going to want to try to get this stage win. I know he was very content to stay behind Brian Johnson in stage 1, but I don't think that's going to last forever here. Especially the closer and closer we get. I mean, these stage points are so important. We mention it all the time. And we mention it because it's true. I mean, you know, you can win both stages and come in third in the race and have more points than the person that won the race. So it's definitely very important. And I know Brian Johnson is definitely trying to get as many points as he possibly can. I mean, we know Brandon Passalacqua right now has been the picture of consistency in the Super Cup season. And that's why he's in the points lead at the moment. But if Brian Johnson gets as many stage points as he has been getting so far, we could see a change in that lead position.
Yeah, and that's the reason why you're going to have to mix it up a little bit, especially the guys that are in the back. But you don't do that at this point. I think you wait until maybe, I say you probably push out break that line up with 5 to go in the stage, and then at that point you try to get you try to make the high line as powerful as the bottom line, if you will. I think that's going to be your best case to mix it up if you want to get some stage points and not just keep it as it is. But otherwise, you can just stay in line and everything will be just fine.
Yeah, I'm looking back at this other pack again. Looks like they've switched up who's leading it, and that's something that also we haven't really discussed. Is not all cars. We talk about all these cars are very equal, and they are. A lot of these guys come in here with a vast variety of setups that but you still, not everybody is equal in a lot of regards. So I think that's why J.C. Evans kind of took the lead of this pack, because you want that guy that is really, really fast to be out front. Because if you have a guy that maybe is a follower type car, he's not going to do as good in the lead.
Yeah, absolutely, and it matters with the way that bird flies as well. So you got to be able to turn a fast lap time if you're going to lead this thing. You can't put the guy that can't figure out the perfect tune to get around the track the fastest way in the lead, and the whole pack's going to fly slow. So a lot of variables that you're absolutely correct that we're going to be weighing on. But I'm going to ask you this: do you think Al Kozlowski is going to be content with no stage points here in the first race of season 2, or do you think he's going to try to mix it up as we get closer to the end of stage 2?
No, I definitely think he's going to mix it up. I mean, he's not going to be one that is just going to sit there in line. But it looks like he's definitely kind of being a little calm here, which is a little surprising to me. This is a track I think that well suits Al Kozlowski, though.
Well, yeah, because of the super speedway kind of characteristics. But at some point, though, he's going to have to look down and say, man, if I don't make a move, I'm going to get nothing. I mean, all he's getting is the bugs from the guys in front of him's windshields.
Yeah, you're definitely right, and he's not gonna be in the stage points. I think that's what you're definitely kind of bringing to light there, and he's gonna want to get as many as he possibly can. I mean, of course, this is the first race of the Cup season, so now's the time. This is a big stepping off point here for the rest of this Cup season, and this race could possibly determine who has the most points at the end. I mean, of course, the Super Cup season, it has a whole playoff format. But in the actual ISCA Cup season, it's only a 13-race season, which, of course, there is no playoff format. It's all about points. And, of course, we've even seen it to where guys will run away, have a 100-point lead, and there's no chance of getting caught up and even in the mix for the championship. So this is you have to have a good stepping off point. This is the time that you get as many points as you possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you don't want them, believe me, there's going to be guys that do, and they're going to risk everything just for that. As Al Kozlowski now gets around Dave Hughes Jr., puts himself up in the 11th place. So I think at that point, he's kind of answering that question, Brian. He is definitely he's got to move now, though, because otherwise he's going to find himself losing that lead draft and taking himself out of contention for any stage points whatsoever. So that lead 10 right now, they kind of got it figured out. They keep doing what they're doing. I think they're going to be just fine, but that might not be so good for everybody else.
Yeah, I kind of thought Al Kozlowski was definitely getting ready to lose the draft. It looks like he might still have Scott Naslin's draft here. He's definitely going to be trying to see if he can't get up there to that 22. Now, this is going to be a big decision, though, for Al. Does he fight with the 22? I don't know. I mean, that could cause both him and the 22 to possibly lose the draft. It seems like it's very easy.
Yeah, but there's that. Yeah, but because he's going to be pulling tremendous ahead of steam. So if he can use that momentum to his favor, it might work out. But if not, yeah, he's going to be best guess just to get right up in there, suck behind the 22, and maybe push him to see if they can make a move together.
100%. Of course, I do believe we're verging now on 15 laps to go here in the stage, and so far everybody's been very clean. Big green racing. Haven't seen an accident yet. We've almost seen one, though. We did see Greg Wachinski and Kenny Powell have a little bit of some bumping and grinding a little bit earlier, but it looks like they have definitely recovered well. Sits in the 6th and 7th position. Brian Johnson, though, has led every single lap thus far. And what a dominant performance from that race car driver. He's definitely one that always knows how to tune on him as well. I mean, he's not a guy that really gets a setup from a setup shop and just leaves it be. He's a guy that likes to get in there and tinker. And I think it's really showing right now, why he's got that kind of speed, because he's that type of guy that's not going to let, nothing's ever good enough when it comes to the setup,
Absolutely. And like I said, the best thing for all of these drivers happening here tonight is maybe, this race doesn't do a tremendous amount for your standings in the Super Cup, but stage 2, season 2, this is the first race. So if you're a guy like, say, Derek Jacobs right now, he's back in 14th, but hey, look, he's already got points tonight. Think about that, Brian. That is something that, only 9 other drivers can say.
That's definitely true. And I'll tell you what, I think that there's some lessons being learned, hopefully, I hope, from those guys that are in that second pack. Because, I think that the value of being in this lead draft is huge. And those guys that have fallen off of this league draft, they're going to have to figure something out for next stage. Of course, we're going to have a stage yellow coming up in not long. But after that, there is going to be no stage yellow to come save you. You can't lose this lead pack draft.
Yeah, I think your whole, I hope you're totally right. I hope these guys do actually take to heart what you're saying and do go and say, because realistically speaking, you cannot guarantee a caution after this one. The next flag that is probably going to fly is probably going to be the checkered. So you cannot afford to lose that lead draft, because you see you're not going to catch it back if you do. So I think that's going to definitely, if it doesn't make a lot of those teams kind of the hair stand up on the back of their neck and the spotters say to the crew chief, hey, we got to do something. You know what I mean? Even if it's changing your pit strategy, you got to do something. But you definitely want to be with that lead pack at all costs.
Yeah, for sure. And, you talk about a caution not being guaranteed. Now, it would be a safe bet, I'd say, in an A Open that you could be like, oh, yeah, I think a caution's probably going to come out, at 30 to go or something like that. But ISCA, you can never bet on that, because these guys always drive so clean. They have the cleanest racing here on the service a lot of times. Most of the time, we don't have any cautions at all. It looks like someone's getting hung out to dry. Darren Mullins going to get hung out to dry by Josh Schaffner. Schaffner going to move his way up into that 4th place position, and I think we're getting ready to see the value of that track position, considering I think Darren Mullins is getting ready to lose a lot of position.
Well, this was already happening because there was a gap right there between the 5 of Wachinski and the 29 of Sanchez. So once you started seeing that kind of build itself in, you knew that it was going to be a breakup there within the running order of the top 10. And so now these guys are really starting to put their fangs out. It's kind of like the cat that was a kitten. Well, now he's got those big old fangs out, and you realize, oh, cow, that's a lion. And you don't want to get swatted around, because these guys now, I believe, they're getting ready to start playing for blood.
Yeah, I think this is the time that a lot of these guys are going to start trying to race each other. We are starting to see some separation here. You kind of mentioned a little bit of that. Of course, Darren Mullins, because of that separation, was able to fall into the 7th place position, so he didn't lose as much as he could have. He could have fell all the way back there to Al Kozlowski, sorry, Big Al.
Yeah, but his dad is back there, and he is literally shoving the 29 of Mark Sanchez. So, like you said, that was going to be something that we will be able to see. Well, that was something that just happened. I don't know if Sanchez was ready for it, but dang it, he sure got it.
Hey, you better be ready for it. You can't be stingy or, lick a gift horse in the mouth when these guys start to pushing on your back bumper. You got to take advantage of it. But now, of course, you don't push the pusher, especially at a track like this. But these next-gen cars, you can push the pusher a little bit. I don't know if it's really a worthwhile maneuver at a track like this, a 1.5 mile super speedway. The first
I don't know, man. I think, and that's what I'm saying. I think you got to get out there and mix it up a lot of bit. I think you got to try things, because there's not another situation. There's not another track that exists like this. So, you get out there and you get a little jiggy with it. You get a little crazy with it, I'm not trying to give a Will Smith reference.
Lord, you just did.
I'd much rather give a Chris Rock reference,
Oh, Lord.
I'm not political, man. I'm just Big Al.
Yeah, definitely. Don't give any Will Smith references. Definitely funny, though, considering, you know, they definitely got to get jiggy with it. It looks like Mark Sanchez is trying to get a little jiggy with it right now, but he's going to get hung out by Randy Mullins. Looks like Mark Sanchez is going to probably fall behind the 54 machine. And I do believe that's going to put him in 9th place, but that is one position higher than he was in stage number 1. A little bit of a blinking issue going on, I do believe, from Chris Johnson.
And Mark Sanchez, man, he is the guy that knows that he has got to try to do something different than what he's been doing. Because what he's been doing ain't been working. You know, he is not actually able to gain any ground. So here he is trying to do anything. And I think the one thing they might try to do is probably bring out a caution. That might be inadvertent, though. But, I mean, we're getting really sporty here as Kenny Powell comes along the high side, running, I mean, G&G right there. Powell running on the outside of his G&G teammate Josh Schaffner, getting the push from the 5 of Wachinski, trying to see if they can gain any ground working together, because that lead 4 right now is running away with it, Brian.
Yeah, they are. You're definitely seeing, though, a lot of guys trying to make something happen, but it just seems like they don't have the ability to do so. Greg Wachinski and Kenny Powell, they both went up to the top and just were not able to get really a run.
Well, the one thing they're going to do, if they're going to try to make this thing work for them, they're going to have to get in line, because obviously it was not yet time, even though we're 2 laps left in the stage.
Oh, almost some contact. Mark Sanchez coming down a little bit there on the 5. Luckily, it did not turn into a big deal there. So we have the white flag out in the air for stage number 2. 75 laps now into this race, and definitely been some good racing so far. Look at that. Here comes Brian Johnson.
And that's what it took. The brothers Johnson now going to be trying to go side by side. As the 99 now drops down behind the 4.
Yeah, they kind of hung out the 6 of Brandon Passalacqua. You see Josh Schaffner now up on the top trying to make something happen. He's followed right behind by Kenny Powell.
Woohoo!
And look at that. Brian Johnson all the way down onto the apron along with Greg Wachinski. And they're going to be wrecking as the caution does come out for the stage. Al Kozlowski, I do believe, getting in some contact with, I do believe, Scott Naslin. I want to take a look back at this really quickly and see exactly what happened here as they were getting ready to cross the start-finish line. Yeah, Al Kozlowski just, I guess not realizing that the caution had already came out, tried to take it 3 wide on Naslin, and contact ensued. Luckily, it wasn't huge hits, but that could have been a lot worse. Must have been Al Kozlowski didn't see the yellow flag had already came out. But with that, we'll go ahead and take our step away. Well, let's actually run down through the Stage 2 results. My bad. Brian Johnson finishes in the lead again, so that is 2 stage wins in a row. Chris Johnson in 2nd. Brandon Passalacqua 3rd. Greg Wachinski finishes 4th. Josh Schaffner in 5th. Kenny Powell in 6th. Mark Sanchez 7th. Scott Naslin in 8th. Darren Mullins in 9th. And rounding out our top 10 is Al Kozlowski. Those will be the points-paying positions. With that, we'll go ahead and take a step away, and we'll be right back with whoever Big Al decides he wants to talk to.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I feel tough, bro. get a hug, man. What have you done, Jim?
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. I do believe we're going to have our second place finisher in stage 2, Chris Johnson, joining us up in the booth. Big Al standing by.
Hey, Chris Johnson. This is Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, first off, man, I want to say, I salute you for running the Ford. In making it look good here, finishing second place with your brother, and I know you only let him win that stage because he's your brother. But congratulations to you for bringing it home in P2.
Yeah, we got a pretty good car underneath us, thanks to Brian Johnson. I know he's driving a Chevy, but he's the one that kind of worked on this setup and put it up underneath me.
Awesome. So let me ask you this question. You being a Georgia guy and this track being new and this car being new to this track, what do you think about the overall configuration in the two together?
I mean, it's fun. It's just the tri-oval was kind of sketchy at times, especially if you want to go 3 wide. But overall, it's your typical super speedway, but you have to save a little bit of tire.
All right, man. I see you got to get back to work here soon, so I'm going to let you get back at it. Congratulations on your second place finish. Who are you going to shout out here for your stage 2 second place finish?
Of course, Southern Spiral Pipe, TWRS, Butt Kicker, and y'all up in the booth. Appreciate it.
Hey, all right, sir. Thank you, and good luck to you. Hopefully we'll see you at the end of this thing.
Thank you, sir.
Alrighty, that was Chris Johnson, second place finisher. He also started in second, so definitely going to be some good points coming his way here tonight. Now we get ready to start stage number 3, and it looks like he's having a little bit of a blinking issue there. Hopefully that smooths out. Of course, this is going to be the race that these guys will have to do a green flag stop. If we stay green, pace car is going to be taking that trip down pit road. Of course, the fuel window is 65 laps. I would assume these guys are going to probably run the tank dry. We'll have to wait and see how that kind of works out. As the green flag is back out in the air, Chris Johnson not getting a great start. Brandon Pasalacqua able to really take advantage as we see the top line was formed there for just a second. But looks like they have ditched Kenny Powell, but Powell's got a pretty good run. He needs some reinforcements, though, from behind. Let's see if anybody goes up there to help him out.
Long way to go, Brian. I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. But the one thing that you are going to have to worry about, that's communication. Because this is where it's going to become key. Because, like you said, you can run this gas tank quite a ways down. So, if green flag racing does continue, you might see a little bit more team-centric green flag pit stops.
Almost had an accident a little bit further back here, I do believe. The 77 almost just got into someone there, but luckily it did not turn out that way. But a lot of these guys have, I think, turned up the intensity a little bit more. And, this being such a long stage, you're surprised to see it, really loose from Corey Saucier. I think he's got a very loose handling race car up on that top side. And now that's one thing we did talk about as well a little bit about the fuel. Guys that are running on the top, and especially if you're leading that top line, you're going to be burning a lot more gas. Of course, that's the longer way around the track.
Yeah, and this isn't the time to do that. Right now, this is the time to get in line. And like we talked about, you cannot allow this to break down into groups. You won't have a choice. 3 wide right now between the 54 to 88 and the 22. They're still not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, definitely some heavy fighting right now. Still 3 wide as Corey Saucier drops down to the bottom. Oh! Almost an accident as Al Koslowski almost came up on Scott Naslin. Now, that might be a little bit sore at each other, just considering they did have a little bit of an accident towards the end of stage number 2.
Well, the only point you're gonna prove right now if you do that is what we've been saying is you're gonna lose the draft.
Yeah, I think we got some guys that are already in danger of that already happening. And we talk about, these guys needing to learn a lesson in stage 2, not to get separated like they did before. And I think that's happening once again as we see Greg Carr leading kind of a second group here. Can they get caught up? They are, for the most part, side by side. Of course, Greg Carr sits in that 14th
Whoa, the
position.
77 of Ryan Strunk really shoots up high on the outside. And if these guys could just tune in and listen to what you're saying, you got to keep this thing single file line right now. That's the fastest way around the racetrack. You get out there, you try to go 2 wide, you try to go 3 wide. You're just going to watch those guys drive away from you, and you're never going to be able to get that time back. Now we're going to see what these guys, what kind of situations they run into once they do decide to go into the green flag pit mode. I don't even want to talk about that now. I just want to talk about the one thing that they're going to have to do in order to keep this thing tight, so that when they do come down the green flag pit stops, you'll have an opportunity to drive away, Brown, because I don't see a caution coming. You're not going to be able to bank on that.
Yeah, you definitely can't bank on that, especially in the ISCA. But I don't know. Some of these guys definitely looking a lot more racy than they should. Contact Scott Naslin and the 71 of Dave Few Jr. A little bit further back here. Looks like they were able to keep it together. Just a little bit of rubbing. Rubbing's racing, as they say.
Yeah, it sure is, especially this early on in the States, because, I mean, where's that trophy at? We're getting ready to reward the trophy here for lap 88. Is that what we're doing? I don't think so.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like for the most part this pack's still all together right now. So glad to see that. We do see Dave Few trying to make the high line work. He's got Blair Holloman right behind him. Of course, they are 16th and 17th. So they have a long journey to try to get up through this field. Eric Jacobson right there with them.
And honestly, I'm not mad at anybody, man. I'm not mad at the guys in the back that are racing. I'm not mad at the guys at the front that are following. I know just at some point there's going to be one strategy that's going to come out and prove to be victorious. I mean, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and you talked about there being like 4 different teams represented out here in this field. So I think that that's going to be a big proponent or a big part of it, you know, to where we're going to see guys talking amongst themselves, coming up with that strategy. When do we go down? They got probably all the numbers crunched, you know, because if you go down, maybe split it in half, you don't have to spend as much time on pit road. Of course, pit stops are going to be quite crazy at this place. Now, a lot of times when you see pit stops at Talladega and Daytona, you're able to enter pit road side by side. That is not the case here at Atlanta. This is a 1.5-mile track that has been changed to resemble what a superspeedway is. But pit road is definitely different.
And also, tire wear matters here. We'll be watching and we'll be tracking the fall off as these guys continue to go through the laps as they advance the stages of this race. But the bottom line is we're in stage 3, and in order for us to make this an exciting venue, we're going to have to keep stage 3 caution free.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see these green flag pit stops. I think that's going to change quite a bit here as we do see Al Kozlowski. He kind of jumped up in front of Corey Saucier and is trying to make some hay while the sun shines up here up on the top side. He right now finds himself side by side with his nemesis in this race, Scott Naslin. And look at that. I hate to criticize Al Kozlowski, but he doesn't have a lot of loyalties when it comes to staying up on a line. Like he moves back and forth between the two, and a lot of times at these kind of tracks, that rubs people the wrong way.
Yeah, but where does this loyalty lie? You're asking him to be loyal.
There's no teammates there for him right there in that particular area. But I'm just saying that you can't be a beggar or choose. You know, if you have to work with whoever you can. I mean, even if you don't like a driver, you got to try to work with them.
Yeah, but he's not. He doesn't have to. Look, he's not loyal to any driver or any line at this point, because where he is at, he's just racing. You know, and if the guy's in his way, I'll tell you what Kozlowski would say. I'm going to move him. I'm going to move him out of the way.
Maybe see somebody get moved here. As we saw the 54 of Randy Mullins trying to possibly go underneath Josh Schaffner. We do see that Kenny Powell has moved up to the top side. The 77 going to see if he can't get up there and help him out. You also see J.C. Evans, I do believe, in the 9 right behind him. So definitely the lines have started to they're mixing it up. That's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely are. They're turning this into what the what the developers wanted. They wanted it to be super speedway racing on a shorter scale, and it's kind of awesome. It's kind of fun to watch it just because there's so many multiple lines, and if these guys can get, if they can get the lead three to kind of mix it up a little bit. I think it'll be a lot more fun for the guys behind him.
Yeah, Kenny Powell right now on the top with Ryan Strunk. He comes down very low on Josh Schaffner. Side drafting a little bit. These guys are definitely starting to put the elbows out as we verge on 3 wide further back. You see Mark Sanchez, I do believe, side by side with Al Kozlowski. We almost saw, I do believe, Derek Jacobs go underneath. But definitely a lot of battling going on. This looks like a lot more battling than we saw in stage 1 and 2. Of course, all 19 drivers that started this race are on the lead lap. The only driver that's not on the lead lap is Robert Matthews.
The 77 pushed to the 24, got the 43 coming up in tow. Brian, they're trying to give you all kinds of stuff to talk about, but I'm going to tell you what. I mean, we don't want the tagline to be big accident in 3, and that's what we're going to get here if they don't settle down a little bit.
They're definitely not settling down. I think there is a high potential for a caution here. For sure, but look at Paul Olson. He's now entering, I do believe, the top 10 for the first time here, and he's another one that really absolutely loves this configuration of this racetrack. I know last time we came to Atlanta, I do believe last season, he was one that really wanted to do well here. Oh, contact with the outside wall from Olson. I shouldn't have talked about it.
Well, he got ran up there by none other than his G&G teammate, Al Kozlowski. I mean, Kozlowski came in the middle of his truck. His car kind of dump trucked, and he just kind of pushed Olson up into the turn.
Hate to see that, too, because now Paul Olson, I do believe, is going to be scored at the back of this pack in last place, 19th position at the moment. That is a heartbreaker, and it looks like someone staying back to possibly help him. I think that's Corey Saucier there in the 3. But still up front, Brian Johnson has led every single lap of this race. And, man, what a dominant performance for him, getting both stage wins. Going to be some huge points there for him for sure. But coming to the end of this thing, I don't think I want to be in that lead position because that is going to be a hard thing to defend when everybody is going to be trying to stab you in the back.
Now, I don't know, man, because so far you got to look at it. And this is the deal for Brian Johnson. I don't see him getting shuffled back because he's got Chris Johnson as a buffer. That's his brother. He's got Brandon Pasalacqua in between him and his brother as a cushion. And the next thing is we've already dictated that, you know, the amount of stage points you get. So with this being the first race of season 2, him dominating the first 2 stages, all he's got to do is kind of keep this thing kind of straight and even get a decent finish, man. He's still... I mean, and if he can pull off the hat trick, that makes it even more sexy.
I do want to mention that we are now within the fuel window. Of course, I don't believe a lot of guys are going to be taking the opportunity to go down pit road this early. We're 23 laps into this run at the moment. We are still seeing a lot of racing. Kenny Powell, of course, able to get separate, I do believe, clear of J.C. Evans, so he is going to come to rest in that top 10 position. Maybe I used the wrong word, rest, considering I don't think Kenny Powell has that in his DNA.
No, right now you still got to continue to run this thing, keeping your foot on the throttle. Lap times haven't really fallen off as drastically as one might think. So it's this, even though we're 24 laps into this stint, and we got another, I'm going to say 30 laps to go before we're out of this stint, because it's primarily based on fuel. But then again, Brian, I don't know, man. I'm thinking I get this thing gassed up, I burn that fuel out of this car, it's going to be freaky fast at the end of this thing.
Yeah, definitely could be the case. I mean, tire wear is definitely significant here at Atlanta Superspeedway, but, you know, it still is not going to, I don't think it causes a whole lot of lap time fall off. I think for the most part, what it does is it makes it harder to maneuver. So you're going to want to really not switch lanes very quickly if you're on the older tires, you know?
Yeah, J.C. Evans getting shot way up high on the racetrack. That's what it cost him a couple of spots.
Yeah, definitely still a lot of battling. We also see Scott Naslin. He's been making up a lot of positions here. As he's now running up on the top. He's followed right behind by Kenny Powell.
Yeah, Powell doing everything that he needs to do. And there comes Mr. Keselowski again. Good to see Ryan Strunk running up. We got Randy Mullins right behind him. Behind those two looks to be Blair. Oh, look, we've got Blair Holloman. Hadn't really talked about him a lot tonight, Brian.
Yeah, we have, and of course, he's one of the newer drivers in this series, and has definitely been sending a message to everybody. I mean, has had some pretty good races. He's been very consistent thus far. I do believe he's gotten some good finishes. We'll have to wait and see if he's able to get any better than what he's been able to get. I think he's gotten a top 10 before, but definitely he's still in the mix. We'll have to wait and see what kind of happens with his future here in this race, as we still are side-by-side through a lot of this pack. Al Keselowski, of course, side-by-side with Randy Mullins. He's got Greg Carr right behind him, along with Derek Jacobs, but it looks like Carr falls back a little bit here.
Yeah, Carr, another driver we hadn't really mentioned a whole lot tonight. Now, he has been a staple here in the league for a while. Definitely good to see him running pretty strong. I think he is playing his cards right, and he needs a strong finish. He's had some unfortunate outcomes. He's run strong, but just maybe hadn't had the best finishes. So tonight, if those guys can pull together a strong finish to go with what they've done so far, I think it'll be a pretty strong showing for that crew.
100%. A lot of wiggling here as we verge it on 3 wide here. Ryan Strunk almost went through the middle there. Al Keselowski getting really loose off the corner as he follows behind Scott Naslin. He drops down to the bottom. Oh, contact with the wall from Derek Jacobs.
Yeah, that's going to bring out a caution right there. Bad juju. The 10 right there. We had just talked about Mr. Holloman. He's going to find himself in bad way. Derek Jacobs also in the 27 is going to find himself with a repairs required flag. So at least 2 meatball flags come out of that one, Brian.
Yeah, that was a hard hit right there. And I think that just Jacobs got loose, came down the track, got into Blair Holloman, and unfortunately Mark Sanchez was nothing really he could do in that situation. Let's take another look at that. You watch here from Derek Jacobs. Of course, he's following behind Greg Carr, but gets tight and then gets loose after he hits the wall, and just all hell breaks loose from there. And unfortunately, Mark Sanchez definitely going to be involved in it. And like you said, some meatball flags being paid out there. Unfortunate, too, because I was really rooting for Derek Jacobs to get himself a solid finish. Hopefully, the required repairs aren't too substantial.
Yeah, but at this track that is so draft dependent, I mean, I think that's going to just negate any chance that he would have had for a solid finish. Now, Blair Holloman in the 10 and Derek Jacobs, the only 2 getting that dreaded meatball flag. Everybody's coming down for tires right now. Still got a decent little run to go here. Looks like 53 or so laps to go.
Of course, these guys are now in the fuel window. They can make it to the end of this race. I do want to say that there was a big strategy call there from Darren Mullins. Big Al, did he take tires? What did he do there on pit road to be able to get out so fast?
It looks like Darren only stayed down for 8 seconds, which is indicative of a fuel-only stop, or at least he only took one side of tires.
Very curious indeed to see that kind of a decision being made. We'll have to see how that works out for him. Of course, tire wear, we talk about it mattering. This is going to be, I think, an experiment, if you will, or a fact-finding mission to see exactly what that means. Like, he's going to be on older tires than everybody else. What is that going to look like? I'm very curious to see what that looks like.
Well, I'll tell you that another thing. Both of those 2 drivers with the meatball flags have got their required repairs complete, and they're back and ready to continue the competition.
Yeah, of course, we see Blair Holloman. He is still on the lead lap. Unfortunately for Derek Jacobs, he is one lap down. So that is definitely going to be a price to pay. And one thing about it as well, Big Al, I know that Kenny Powell, he did a NIS race yesterday, I do believe. And he had some significant damage and had to come down pit road and fix it. And I think he broke the toe link a little bit. But after he got those required repairs fixed, the car was never the same again. And also, he ended up blowing a tire because of the suspension being the toe just being just a little bit off. It caused the tire to wear prematurely. Could we see something like that from Blair Holloman?
Absolutely, because we have a completely new damage model to go in conjunction with the start of this new season, and that just makes it even more exciting. Lights were off on the pace car. We were doubled up. I'm getting ready to take this thing green flag racing again, and I do believe once we do go green, we'll have just under 50 laps left before this one's in the books.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the longest runs these guys have had to do so far here tonight, so we'll have to wait and see how this all works out. Darren Mullins, of course, on the older tires, making a gamble to see if he can't get the track position. That just shows you how important track position truly is. This is going to be the first time that Brian Johnson hasn't led a restart. How does he handle it? Does he, if he gets in dirty air, does his car handle differently? We'll have to wait and see here as the pace car has dipped down pit road, and the green flag will be waving here in just a moment. And there it is, green flag out. Darren Mullins wasting no time to go up through the gears. I'm really curious how much speed he is going to have on these older tires. It looks like he fired off well enough. Brandon Apostolakwa, though, is getting a big run up to the back bumper here. I don't know, Darren's not showing terrible speed right now. But then again, I mean, his tires have got to be pretty worn. Now, I don't think it's going to affect him speed-wise, possibly. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to help. I definitely think it's going to hurt him maneuverability-wise, though. It's going to be hard for him to make the moves necessary to maintain that lead. And it looks like he has already gotten past Brandon Apostolakwa, now up into the top spot. Brian Johnson going to stay right behind him. Oh, Josh Schobner getting really loose. Caution is out. Not sure where this caution comes from. See a lot of smoke. Thinking maybe Paul Olson. Let's take a look back and see if we can't find this. Went a little too far forward there, but I think it might have been Blair Holloman.
Well, you talked about it, too. You said that these cars that get repaired don't always handle as well as they should. But that
no, it's actually further up. I do believe that was actually the 22 of Scott Naslin.
Wow, we talked about him as he was having a solid season here. That is definitely, it goes in twos. I guess he was not meant to three-peat.
Oh, wow, just contact there with Ryan Strunk. And Greg Carr, once again involved in an accident there. He's got a tremendous amount of front-end damage. That was a hard lick.
Yeah, both Greg Carr and the 22 of Scott Naslin going to be coming on down here for required repairs. Hoping that they're going to be able to sort those out, Brian. Maybe, it won't take as long. And also with that, maybe those guys that got the required repairs can come on down and get some of those optional taken care of, so they don't risk blowing a tire. Looks like Derek Jacobs is going to be the recipient of that lucky dog.
Good to see that from him.
He's going to go ahead and get back onto the lead lap. So definitely good luck to that camp. That's got to make them feel pretty good here, as they will be in contention.
Now, I know Al Kozlowski was also involved in that, had some heavy front end, but he kind of phased through the 22, I do believe. So I'm wondering how much damage does he have? You said you saw some meatball flags being paid out there.
Yeah, the only one that's still sitting current right now is that of the 22 of Scott Naslin. Kozlowski did not have one. That's because he pays his tithes.
That he does. Yeah, you can see that Derek Jacobs, of course, getting that lap back, as you mentioned. Greg Carr and Scott Naslin now one lap down. Actually, Naslin 2 laps down. Naslin definitely
Yeah,
fantastic performance the last couple weeks. I mean, we've seen him get 2 seconds in a row, but this is not the time to not get that good finish like you.
No, because this is the start of the new season. You know, even though it's going to bode well for him here in the Super Cup, you still want you got to be strong every week. Look, the talent level here in the ISCA. This isn't the ice cream truck league. That's not what it stands for. I mean, these guys are. I mean, they're playing for blood. That's the easiest way I can say it. So you got to bring your A game, and you can't be unfortunate here and be a champion. It doesn't work that way.
No, not at all. You definitely have to put races together. You got to be consistent, and you can win one race in the ISCA, and of course, wins are very hard to come by in this series. But even if you win just one, that's not going to make you a champion, not in the slightest. But I'm interested. We talked about Darren Mullins. He fired off well on that restart, but he quickly fell back into 4th place. And he still has not elected to come down pit road. And curious to see how that kind of plays out. I think track position definitely weighing a lot more on his mind right now. But as we always say, cautions breed cautions. I think we might see a little bit more attrition set in.
Well, we are doubled up here, getting ready to take this thing green again. But with everybody being so bunched up here, it is going to play into the outcome of the race. Normally, if we were still in the green flag conditions, you wouldn't have this. The cars will be far more spread out, and it'd be more of a game of chase instead of a game of cat and mouse. And right now, I mean, we're up in here like peanut butter and jelly. Pace car is down and away.
And green flag soon to be waving. Of course, we've got Brandon Passalacqua on your screen right now, so you can kind of see him as he negotiates the restart. And it looks like a good start for him. Chris Johnson's able to fall, or I should say Brian Johnson's able to fall right in behind.
First new leader here tonight as Brandon Passalacqua does what he needs to do to take lead, and take note that lead change is going to occur here at lap 117.
And look at the run we're seeing from Darren Mullins up on the top. He's utilizing Kenny Powell to help him get a big run. Powell connected with the bumper even in the corner. A little bit of a loose condition here. We've seen wrecks happen towards the rear of the field so far here tonight. We haven't seen that one that happens up front, Big Al. I think that the one that happens up front is going to literally take out half the cars.
And right now, these guys, this is what they know. They know that, hey, it's time to go. And we got to make that high line be as dominant as the bottom line. The only way we're going to make ourselves relevant in this thing is if we're up front battling for the lead. You're not going to be able to do this sitting single file line back in 7th or 8th place. You got to get out there, and somebody's got to be the guy that gets pushed and inspire other guys to come high, so that way we got 2 lines that are equal in strength.
Yeah, I was thinking that top line was getting ready to make some big moves there as we saw Kenny Powell really laying into the back bumper, still laying into that back bumper, almost connected as Darren Mullins all the way up to the top of the track. Kenny Powell goes through the middle here.
That's not good now. That's going to cause a 3-wide discombobulation.
You also see Ryan Strunk drops down to the bottom. He goes onto the apron and kind of causes a little bit of some loose conditions for him.
Yep, still not safe yet, and that did allow that top 4 to get kind of situated and centric. Now they're going to be pulling away. Kenny Powell finds himself up top, leading that high line, trying to make it go to Grace. Here comes Ryan Strunk. He's going to jump out and try to lead the way as well. A little bit of a blinking condition there from Josh Schaffner. One blink, though, not too bad. Green flag racing continues.
Yeah, we just saw some 3 wide also further back in the pack. Derek Jacobs, Al Kozlowski. Ryan Strunk, though, has jumped up to the top.
Strunk now going to dump back down in front of Schaffner, his GNG teammate, and that's going to leave Powell up top. And now he has, trying to figure the 3 car. That's going to be Corey Saucier. We hadn't talked about Corey in a while. J.C. Evans also going to be up behind the 3. Kind of got that paint scheme mixed up with the 50 of Schaffner.
And look at Josh Schaffner. He's looking very aggressive at the moment right now. He kind of was dipped really low onto that apron, went underneath Ryan Strunk. Yeah, look at this. I mean, Schaffner is trying to pass anywhere he can here. Even on the backstretch, he tried to go below the apron to see if he can't get by that 77. Greg Wychinski kind of following along with him.
Yeah, I think he might be battling just to get the air where he wants it. And these things, like I said, Brian, these cars are capable of doing all kinds of cool stuff here on this track. It's just going to see if, when the drivers get a little bit, a little bit more huevos to get out there and push the issue.
Yeah, 100%. Tell you, I'm surprised. I think we might see Schaffner think about going up there to maybe help out Kenny Powell, but maybe not. Where Saucier not close enough to the back of the 24 to really help him out very much. So Kenny Powell, I think, is going to lose some spots.
Oh, he's coming. Don't worry. And once he gets up there, I think these two need to mix it up a little bit. I think Powell needs to have somebody else behind him pushing him, but I don't think he needs to abandon the dream of making that top line work. It will work. You just got to get the right guys up there. Maybe it's still a little bit early, you know what I mean, now that they've kind of settled down. Maybe you do get back in single file and kind of hold on a little bit and not be the, at the scene, the first car at the scene of the accident.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to beat the ambulance there for sure. But Brandon Ponsalacqua now in the lead. Of course, he has not won yet this Super Cup season. This would be a big day for him, and probably a little bit more of an unfortunate day for Brian Johnson for how many laps he's led here so far tonight. But, he definitely is still going to get quite a substantial amount of points. He did win stage 1 and 2.
Yeah, he would get more points than Brandon Ponsalacqua, and furthermore, it would really boost the team standing there for the G&G crew.
Yeah, for sure. That's something we really didn't get the chance to show earlier. But definitely important to note that G&G usually, or as of late, has been on the top of that pylon, but we expect to see a lot of these other teams to kind of pick themselves up by the bootstraps and really get in there to compete with these drivers here. Look at Corey Saucier giving some really good bumps to the back here of Kenny Powell. I think Powell maybe thought about dropping down in front of Greg Wychinski, but lost the opportunity to do so as the 77 moves up to the top.
I don't know how Kenny takes to Corey pushing him like that. If you don't really practice with somebody and they get back there and start shoving you around, it's almost being a kid watching, like the dude that's just dating your mama push her around. It just ain't comfortable.
Definitely not. Also starting to see a little bit of separation in some parts of the racetrack. Derek Jacobs, he's back now in 17th, has lost the draft. So I think the damage really is impacting him quite substantially. One driver I'm surprised that still is kind of in this lead pack. He's kind of in danger, I think, of losing the draft. But Mark Sanchez and Blair Holloman, both of those those guys do have some damage on those race cars.
Yeah, Al Kozlowski also kind of hanging back further from the pack. But, I don't think you worry about it right now, Brian. I think right now these guys have demonstrated that they're racy enough that the flag man definitely is poised and he will be employed here. Don't get that checkered flag ready, buddy. Keep that yellow one ready because I think you're going to see that one wave first.
Yeah, I think so for sure. Greg Wychinski, though, side by side right now with Ryan Strunk. Ryan Strunk and Kenny Powell have definitely been working very well together up on this top line. Oh, really close. J.C. Evans almost gets up there into Kenny Powell. These guys are definitely starting to move closer and closer together. Not really, definitely trying to side draft, I do believe. And this is that point in the race where we're going to see a lot more of that as we do have, I do believe, 33 laps to go here this time by.
Yeah, it's go time. And you hoping that up front further, you're hoping that Brian isn't going to just be, content with a second place finish. You're hoping that Brian eventually.
Oh, problems from Mark Sanchez. He just had a big moment. Oh, yeah. How was that not a caution right there? Al Kozlowski and him, I do believe, getting involved. And that is why Al Kozlowski, I do believe, was separated from the pack. Yeah, just unfortunate. Just gets cleaned right out. Wasn't a huge contact, but that could have easily brought out that caution. So I know that flag man was definitely reaching for that yellow flag.
Yeah, Sanchez just kind of ran into Al No Lift Koslowski.
Definitely interesting encounter there for sure. Hate to see that. Especially Sanchez. I mean, he's been running good tonight. I mean, he's up in the top 10 all night long. Was able to get, ninth, I do believe, in the second stage and 10th in the first. So he's still going to get some points here. And he still is on the lead lap, but I don't know for how much longer. I do believe him and Derek Jacobs have gotten lined up here, but they will be going a lap down very, very soon. And that we haven't seen a whole lot of lap traffic today.
And that's what I was getting ready to say. They're not just going to go a lap down. They're going to play into they're going to be lap traffic. And that is going to add a whole nother layer of condiments here to this peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's almost like putting guacamole on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Look at the run that Ryan Strunk is getting right now on the top side with Kenny Powell in tow. Definitely starting to make some big moves here. Looks like the 71 maybe thinking about taking it 3 wide, but thinks better of it.
Yeah, I definitely think this is the brewing of the perfect storm here, is this whole pack now starting to really get committed to side-by-side racing. Ryan Strunk riding up on that high line. Kenny Powell pushing Strunk. Powell now going to really be kind of wanting to push the issue, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Literally push the issue. And I think this is the most competitive we've seen this top line thus far. We haven't seen the top line really make these kind of moves, but I think they're really starting to, rubber that top line up, and it's starting to get really competitive now. Ryan Strunk is clear to the bottom for the lead, and I think he's going to take it.
Is this not the coolest racing that you've seen at Atlanta, like, ever? I mean, I'm sitting here watching this. I'm calling the race, and I'm literally, my mouth's agape. I'm looking at the front, the back. I'm looking at the guacamole that we got coming up. I mean, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, everybody's on their feet. I'm excited right now as Ryan Strunk is battling for the lead against Brian Pasalacqua, and this is going to be with the high line being dominant here, Brian.
Yeah, it took a long time for that high line to really get the mojo that they need, and it looks like they definitely have a lot of speed now because they're all side by side here. When they catch up to this lap traffic, it is going to be a dangerous situation, and they're going to catch them sooner rather than later. Mark Sanchez and Derek Jacobs probably even in sight right now for the leader, Pasalacqua.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you got Dave Hughes Jr. He is pushing up behind the 24, Kenny Powell. These guys are starting to try to figure out how they're going to get around the lap traffic, and I think that is the one thing that caused that high line to kind of dissipate as fast as it did.
This is the worst place to catch him as well on this front stretch.
Ooh.
Looks like Kenny Powell left hanging out to dry there.
All's well that ends well.
It looks like they were able to successfully navigate their way around. And those two drivers, Mark Sanchez and Derek Jacobs, are now a lap down. Of course, Mark Sanchez will be the lucky dog, but we haven't seen the last driver, I don't believe, go a lap down. Is Al Koslowski, next one on the chopping block.
And he is definitely going to be praying to the caution guys that maybe they will wave something in his favor. I don't think that's out of the realm of probability or possibility here, Brian.
Oh, speaking of which, the 71 around, big accident. The 9 of J.C. Evans smashes the outside wall with a ton of force, and the caution flag is out. You spoke it into existence, Big Al. Oh! And they wrecked after the fact. What was Blair Holloman doing?
I guess that was his impersonation of the wrecking ball.
Wow, that is going to take out a couple drivers there.
Yeah, he was definitely listening to old Miley Cyrus. I came in like a wrecking ball. Yeah, right now, 3 drivers. Sorry, I won't ever do Miley Cyrus again on Big Al Karaoke. But J.C. Evans and Dave Hughes Jr. All
Look at this.
Of
boom! Look at the 9. That was such a huge hit. Great evasive maneuvers for the rest of these drivers, but what in the heck was the 10 doing here? Oh! I mean, you see the 64 of Darren Mullins. He was able to get by that just fine, but the 10, just last-second maneuvers. I don't know what was going on there. I want to see through the cockpit camera.
It just like that, he gone.
I mean, he was right behind the 64 of Darren Mullins and started slowing up. I mean, he definitely knew something was wrong. But I guess visibility-wise, I mean, oh, gosh, that's a hit.
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate set of circumstances. So J.C. Evans, Dave Hughes Jr., Al Koslowski, all repairs required. Looks like Blair Holloman's going to go ahead and put it behind the wall. He's going to join Scott and Aslan. That's the two drivers that have effectively withdrawn from the competition. But, man, now it's going to get really interesting, Brian, because we are going to be less than 20 laps to go at the super speedway version of Atlanta, and I think it's going to get really, really exciting.
Yeah, it definitely will. Of course, let's take a brief step away, and we'll be right back with that excitement.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms, from camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgot.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tough, bro. We get a hug, What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. As you, if you just are joining us, we had a huge accident involving, I do believe, the 71 of Dave Few. Of course, I do believe also involved was J.C. Evans, Blair Holloman, late to the incident, of course. He was the first one to the scene of the crash. Pace car is going to be dropping down pit road here as Brandon Pasalacqua going to be getting the call to green. I know we kind of talked a little bit during the commercial break. Green flag is out. That we might not have seen the last of that caution flag, Big Al.
Yeah, I definitely think that the flag man is going to keep that one handy, because I think that's going to be the next one you're going to see before you do see either the green and white checker or the checker flag itself.
And these guys have kind of progressed up to the top side, which is interesting to see. You see Pasalacqua kind of leading that procession, if you will, was kind of up on the top side in these straightaways. I think they're trying to maximize and arc the corners as best they can. We do have Greg Wachinski side by side, I do believe, with Corey Saucier. Actually, that's Darren Mullins right there. Of course, Mullins almost was involved in that last accident. The 77 of Ryan Strunk back up to the top once again, but does not have... Oh, there goes the 54.
Burn! 54 and the 77 get into each other. Caution still not out. There it is. Yes, it is. Sorry about that. Prove me into a liar. Flagman sitting there and he is looking at me. Don't mean mug me, dude. I'm just calling the race.
Yeah, that was definitely quite the accident for sure. And that is going to probably pay some more meatball flag.
No, actually, J.C. Evans still the only driver that is holding it down.
Take a look back here, and it looks like the 77, just a side draft gone wrong.
Yeah, but those two drivers, just the amount of sliding they did is really going to play carnage on their tires. And Brian, I'm thinking, man, some of these guys will be running out of sets here.
Yeah, it could definitely be the case, but look at that. I'm shocked that the 54 didn't get a meatball there because that was a huge hit on that outside wall. He's definitely going to have that car's going to be hurt, but definitely surprised. I think it was just because it hit square on the front nose, so hopefully he's not too bad off there. But definitely a little bit of a disagreement for real estate, and I think more and more of that's going to happen as this race goes on.
I just think we're doing exciting things, and it's going to get even more exciting because we're getting almost down to the point where we're going to be about 11, 12 laps to go here before this thing could officially be in the books. And I think we have one green, white checker is all we get here tonight. So 13 laps to go, I believe, once the checker does come back out, the green flag does come back out.
Do a quick rundown through the field while we have this opportunity. Brandon Ponsalacqua in first place. Brian Johnson sits in second. Josh Schaffner sits in third. Kenny Powell in fourth. So a G&G group up in the top five. Of course, Chris Johnson in fifth. Corey Saucier been running really good tonight in that 3 machine. He sits in sixth. Darren Mullins in seventh. Greg Wachinski eighth. I do believe ninth place Randy Mullins, who was just involved in that accident, along with Ryan Strunk, who sits, I do believe, in the 10th spot. Of course, Derek Jacobs, I do believe, sits 11th. Ryan, well, that's interesting. It says Ryan Strunk sits in 2 spots. So I think I might have been a little bit of a contradictory here in the telemetry. How did they have 2 spots? That's kind of interesting. But a lot of guys have fell victim to this attrition. You talked about meatball flags from J.C. Evans. Of course, he sits 6 laps down at the moment. Dave Few in 15th, 7 laps down, along with Blair Holloman, 7 laps down. Al Kozlowski, 7 laps down. So a lot of lap down cars now that are probably going to be finding this being the end of their race, considering not a lot of racing left to go. But still enough for us to wad up some more race cars, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think we got time to tear up a couple more, especially Chevys. I mean, we got plenty of Chevys to match up out here.
That we do. One Toyota and I do believe a Ford also. But for the most part, yeah, there's a lot of Chevys out there. It seems like that is the go-to manufacturer for a lot of these drivers. Pace car lights are out. We're on the back stretch, getting ready to get them back going once again. And I do believe we're going to have 15 to go. But what a crazy race this has been. I mean, I kind of knew it was going to be like this. Definitely we had some long green runs, but this track is just so crazy. And, it really is just like a super speedway. I mean, we're going to see a lot of guys breaking some more vehicles, I do believe, and maybe even some little bit of anger at the end of this thing. I think that, the admins, the race control of this series is going to have a time probably dealing with a lot of complaints from other drivers, the HR department, if you will. Pace car going to be taking that left turn down pit road. Brandon Ponsalacqua going to be getting ready to enter the Geico restart zone, and the green flag will fly once again. Good start there for Ponsalacqua. I think he's just leaving just enough room for Brian Johnson to dip down below. Of course, Josh Schaffner also going to try to stay in line. Side by side, though, Kenny Powell and Chris Johnson. But it looks like Chris is going to slide ahead, and Kenny Powell falls in line. So the top 5 all in a line right now.
And that's exactly what you want to see. And that's what they need to do in order to keep this thing clean and green. Right now, Wachinski's still a little high there. He's trying to figure out how he fits in with the 77 of Strunk. Strunk did suffer a little bit of damage earlier on, so wondering if that's got anything to do with these two guys not only losing the pace, but kind of racing each other there.
Yeah, you did mention Ryan Strunk, of course, was involved in one of the accidents here recently. It looks like he has not lost a whole lot of speed, but these guys are starting to now separate from this front group. They need to get in line. I think one of these guys needs to bite the bullet and say, hey, I need to fall behind these guys and just try to push them. Otherwise, I will not have an opportunity to get up there and race with the rest of these guys when it comes to the end of this thing. 12 laps to go next time by Brandon Pasalak was still in the lead, but now's the time where a lot of these drivers are going to start to get these moves kind of formulated in their mind on what they're going to do.
Oops, big wiggles right there.
Corey Saucier, I do believe, is going to now get passed by Ryan Strunk. Like you said, some wiggles from that race car. And I think the 3, I should say, has been loose all night long. I've been noticing that from that race car. He's been fast, and of course, loose is fast, but you could definitely see that he is on edge a lot of times.
Yeah, and I definitely think that was the reason why the 20 was actually trying to get away from him there a little bit.
But for the most part, we now are single file. Top 6 all right there on top of each other. We do see Ryan Strunk possibly able to draft his way back up. And I think he does have the draft.
Ooh, the 4 of Brian Johnson definitely starting to get impatient with the 6 of Brandon Pasalacqua. He is not giving Pasalacqua the same distance and spacing and cushion that Pasalacqua gave him. Josh Schaffner got to be feeling pretty good, though, as he has now got himself securely tugged in to that 3rd place position here, Brian, ready to make a move at literally a moment's notice.
Some blinking there from Chris Johnson at the moment, but I talked to Josh Schaffner a little bit before the race, and I actually watched him do an A Open yesterday, and he's been having a ton of bad luck in the A Opens, but, he was hoping that all that bad luck would lead to some good luck in this race here, and it seems like it has so far. He finds himself in 3rd place. Not a bad day at all points-wise. Of course, it ain't over till the fat lady sings as we get closer and closer, as we're now going to be 9 laps to go here.
Yeah, we definitely got to love on the fat lady here tonight.
I do see a separation here. Corey Saucier has lost the draft now. He finds himself over 2 seconds back from Randy Mullins. Of course, Greg Wyszynski as well. So Wyszynski, something definitely not going right with that race car. So right now, I do believe only the top 8 are in this lead pack.
And speaking of 8, coming down to 8 to go here, it'll be 7 at the line.
These drivers definitely going to start to try to, like I said, the formulation of the thoughts and brainstorming between the teammates on when to make that move has been happening, I'd say, for the last couple laps. But I think now that execution is going to be starting to happen as well.
Yeah, but I don't think anything's going to happen until the 4 decides to make a move. He is going to be the one that is going to totally drive how this thing goes out. As long as he continues to push the 6 is safe. But when he decides to move up to the high line, I don't think this is going to be kind of like Talladega and Daytona, where that 3rd place car kind of really dictates the move. I think if Josh Schaffner goes high, I think the first 2 continue to push on.
Yeah, definitely could be the case for sure. But I definitely think even though for the most part this top 5 is G&G, I don't think they're going to have a lot of cooperation when it comes to these final laps here.
No, they're definitely having co-opetition, as Darrell Waltrip would say.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. They are only sticking with each other, I think, until that final lap. And at that final lap, when the white flag is waving, everything is going to be on the table here. Could see some hurt feelings, as we now have 5 laps to go. And Brandon Pasalacqua probably in the scariest place to be right now, just considering you have all these drivers behind you, and even though they've been loyal all race, that loyalty is going to end somewhere here in the next few laps.
Well, you said it earlier, you would not want to be the leader, so where would you want to be in a situation like this on this track in particular?
I don't know. I think I'd want to be in Schaffner's position possibly, because if Brian Johnson goes up to try to make something happen, I think Schaffner maybe stays on the bottom. And if Brandon Pasalacqua goes up there to try to block Brian Johnson's run, then that gives Josh Schaffner the ultimate pathway to victory.
Yeah, I just don't think Schaffner can pull out right now. I think I think him being able to keep up with these guys is dependent upon him staying in line.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think he's going to have to pull out at all. I think those guys are going to be racing each other hard. And if he could just try to take advantage of it, I mean, the same goes for Chris Johnson, Kenny Powell. I mean, if these guys make the right decision, you know, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, when the chips are down, we're going to see who has the loyalty to who has the biggest run. I think that's what it's going to matter. I think we're going to definitely finish probably 3 wide, though. I have a feeling that these guys are not going to be playing very nicely. I think that the apron down there is going to be well used on this last lap. 2 laps to go now. White flag coming up. We already see Darren Mullins now side by side with Kenny Powell. And this is exactly the problem when you try to go side by side, is it splits up the pack. The side draft, the air that's coming off these cars separates them quite substantially when they go side by side.
Brandon Passalacqua definitely enjoying this.
Here comes Schaffner. Schaffner going to be moving up to the top. He's going to be the one that breaks the ice here. Let's see if he's able to make something happen. Look at that blocking. Brandon Passalacqua trying to block. Josh Schaffner to the bottom.
That was a
3 wide, and there goes the 64.
64 is going to be sideways. That's not going to bring out the caution. Just going to make his race end prematurely. Josh Schaffner sideways through the grass at the end of this thing.
Heavy hit there for Josh Schaffner.
Definitely going to cause Schaffner a lot of pain, because he's going to finish in 5th.
Let's take a look at this. Of course, you see the 64 having his issues, and then I do believe the 50 and possibly, the 99 kind of get caught up together. And that was a weird place to spin there for Schaffner, but look at Kenny Powell. He was able to really make up a lot of time there. Was side by side with Passalacqua coming across the line. Was only, I do believe, a 10th in between those two. But what a finish with Brandon Passalacqua able to get the victory. And a heartbreaker, though, for Brian Johnson. I definitely think so, because, I mean, he won Stage 1 and Stage 2, led the majority of the laps here tonight, and unfortunately he comes home in 7th place. But let's go ahead and do a run through the results here. Brandon Passalacqua, your victor. Kenny Powell in 2nd place. Ryan Strunk in 3rd. Randy Mullins, after being involved in some accidents, recovers well to finish 4th. Chris Johnson in 5th. Josh Schaffner, of course, spins across the line in 6th. Brian Johnson in 7th. 8th place, Darren Mullins. 9th place, Corey Saucier. 10th place, Greg Wychinski.
Yep, that's going to put Mark Sanchez in 11th with Derek Jacobs 12th. 13th is going to be Paul Osen. Dale Fugit Jr. in 14th. J.C. Evans 15th. Al Koslowski in 16th. Blair Holloman comes home in 17th with Greg Carr in 18th. Scott Naslin all the way down to 19th with Robert Matthews rounding out this 20-car field. With that rundown complete, and it looks like the burnout and the celebratory part for Brandon Passalacqua done as well. We'll take a brief step away, get a word from our sponsors, and I think we'll be back with our post-race show.
We decided it's time to put a different kind of power tool in your hands. Store Mode in the Home Depot app gives you in-store tools made to help you get more done. To guide you every step of the way and explore products quickly with the scan. That way you get the top brands at the best prices without missing a beat. It's made for doing. Download the Home Depot app and see how doers get more done.
Hey everybody, my name is Warren Maddox. I am the president of Ultimate Experience Outdoors. Our mission, we are dedicated to taking veterans, first responders, youth, and Gold Star family members on outdoor excursions across the country.
Support for our mission has many forms. From camp cooks to the great storytellers, some buddies with the band, maybe you just want to build a campfire and sit around and listen. Nothing goes unnoticed.
Camaraderie is reborn. The acceptance among the men and women that took an oath.
Whether it was decades ago or recently renewed, but never forgotten.
If you feel like you could help us, please visit our website, www.uxonation.org.
There, you can register to hunt, sign up to sponsor an event, or even donate to us so we can continue to execute our mission.
Oh my gosh, I'm so tough, bro. We get a hug, right? What have you done, Jim?
We need your help to hold the line once again.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and what a race it was here. Ryan Strunk definitely was one that was very aggressive here tonight, was painted up on that top line for a long time, and was able to actually make that top line more competitive than it has been all night. Of course, he's going to be joining us up here in the booth. Ryan Strunk, do you read me? Ryan Strunk, do you got me?
You got me?
Yep, got you now. How you doing, man?
Cool.
I mean, you seem like you had a pretty good hot rod. You led one lap, which is a lot to be said, considering a lot of the other drivers didn't lead any.
Yeah, well, first thing I got to do is apologize to Randy Mullins and anyone involved in that whole debacle. I don't even know what I was doing there. That was not a okay thing to do at all. So I got to apologize to him and appreciate that he still raced me with class after that. That just shows how much of a stand-up dude he is, and definitely don't want to go out and race like that. So yeah, we got a good finish, but I mean, things just happen so quick here. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it was actually surprising that Randy Mullins was able to finish where he did, just considering, I mean, I know when y'all did have y'all's incident, he hit the wall very hard on the nose, and I'm surprised that didn't, kill his engine, but he still was able to grab force. So it's definitely a good recovery. So I don't think you should feel too bad about it. And I know that I'm sure you guys will talk it out. But how did you like Atlanta, this iteration of it? I know it's been quite difficult, or a lot more, I'd say, a roll of the dice type of track, wouldn't you say?
It's just something else, because like you just get caught up. There's only 2 lanes. You can try 3 wide, but you're just flirting with disaster then. So like it's really just difficult because the runs generate so quick, the checkups generate even quicker, and it's a challenge, man.
Yeah, definitely very much seemed like a challenge out there for you for sure, but you were able to, negotiate it. You didn't have as much damage as a lot of other people did. I know it kind of had a lot of cautions there towards the end, and you were able to kind of slide through some of them and not get the hugest damage. I mean, and even if you did get any damage, your lap times didn't seem like they were hurt very much for sure. What was tire wear like out there? It didn't seem like it didn't affect as many cars as we thought.
Well, yeah, I can't speak for anyone else, but at least for us in the 77 crew, it seemed like we just had to help the car as the run went on. Like, had to let it roll a little bit in 3 and 4. The right front was getting kind of beat up on the inside, and it was just playing out just tight, getting into 3 and 4, which made it difficult trying to hold the low line. So that's why between that and the checkups, I just decided at some points just to hang it out up high, just to see what happened. But it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie, it was a struggle.
Definitely seemed like it could have been very difficult. Dirty air definitely seemed like it played a big role as well. Now I feel so unprofessional for this, but I forgot where we are actually going next week.
Yeah,
Pal, could you help us out?
Good question.
Coda. Oh Lord. How do you feel about that racetrack? I mean, that's quite a difficult road course.
Well, I don't think we'll be talking next weekend, so.
Well, definitely understand that is a very difficult, very different also than the super speedway we're seeing here today, for sure. Well, hopefully you'll be able to get yourself a decent finish. You're definitely going to be starting off your season 2 with some great points for sure, and we can't wait to see how you continue. Definitely a great finish for you, Ryan. Who could we give a shout out to after this third place finish?
I got to give a shout out to Grindstone Stump Grinding. They're actually based out of Conyers, Georgia, so got a hometown sponsor on the car, which is pretty cool. Got to thank Greg Newsom, my crew chief, and you guys up in the booth, because this broadcast is going to be pretty awesome. Just wish I wasn't making the highlight reels, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you might have made the highlight reels in a bad way, but then you also made the highlight reels in a good way by finishing as well as you did, for sure. But thanks for your time, Ryan, and hopefully we'll get the chance to talk to you again soon.
Sure thing.
That was Ryan Strunk, our third place finisher here. He was one of the most successful guys up on that top line. We didn't get to see that top line be very strong here tonight, but definitely he did a fantastic job along with him working with Kenny Powell. Our next guest, Big Al, standing by with our second place finisher.
Hey, Kenny Powell, Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
I got you.
I think tonight, congratulations to you first off, because, sir, you are our biggest mover, starting all the way back in 17th, bringing it home in P2.
Yeah, it was man. It's tough to move through the field here at Atlanta. You have to be patient yet aggressive. You just got to make the right moves at the right time. It's fun. But it's very different than the other two super speedways.
It's definitely a unique super speedway. That's something that we were actually able to ascertain from our viewpoint. So with this car, this damage model, right, and this track, was it more fun or was it more work tonight?
I'll put it in the work category. I mean, you can you can take it, just relax, run single file, and then it's not more. I mean, it's not as much work, but it's a super speedway. Everything happens faster here than it does at Daytona and Talladega. So and I set back maybe the first two stages, but I kind of put the cards down and went for it at stage 3. And when you're doing that, it's hold on tight to the wheel, and it's white knuckled.
Well, you did actually have a solid showing through the first 2 stages, and then once we got to stage 3, the one thing that kind of came out, I mean, we were all sitting here on pins and needles, didn't get a chance to see that green flag pit strategy kind of unfold. Do you think the outcome of the race would have been different had we been able to actually see green flag pit stops?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I think that we probably wouldn't have messed up a couple cars that got messed up there towards the end if we had green flag pit stops. And yeah, it would have, the cream definitely would have rose to the top, and I think we'd have had a different breakaway, heading towards the last couple laps.
Now, speaking of this, you were definitely determined to make that hotline work, as that's where you spent most of the majority of the evening posted up high. It just didn't really. I don't think you got the kind of guys that I don't think you got the guys up there that you were looking for. What were some of the struggles that you actually did have trying to make that hotline work?
Yeah, that was a struggle. I was riding, where I was a 5th, 6th, and just thinking towards the end of the stage and end of the race. How am I going to get by? Everybody in front of me is a teammate. How am I going to get by all my teammates? And it's fun to race your teammates, but you still want to win. And sitting in 6th place, the only way I was going to get to the front and not be 2nd or 3rd at the end of the stage or end of the race was to get on the top and either push somebody to the front to get to the front myself, or have another teammate jump up there, and go with me, or get a great pusher. So those things are hard to find, and they were definitely hard to find tonight. But finally, I saw Ryan wanted to make the high side work, so I figured he was my guinea pig, and I pushed him to the front. And then, man, that didn't go the way I wanted it to either, because as soon as I got to the front, he dropped down, and then that put me back to 5th again. So, but I did what I did what I could to get to the front.
Well, solid team night for G&G, especially through the first through 2 stages. Maybe not so much on the tail end of this thing, but it was definitely a good night for the Kenny Powell in that 24 G&G Toyota Camry. Next week we head to Dakota. A lot different track from what we got set up here. I mean, do you put that in the work category or the fun category?
I don't know. Sometimes it's a little of both. Yeah, I'm like I always say with road courses, they're not my favorite, but I do work at them, try to get better, and I'm probably not going to like it when I first get there, but after a day or two of practice, it kind of does grow on you and get kind of fun.
What's going to be your biggest goal here as this week goes on, transitioning from the super speedway to the road course? What is it that you would like to have accomplished as an individual as well as a team here next week, say Saturday night?
I mean, are you talking for Atlanta or Coda?
Coda.
Want me to answer? Okay.
Yeah, Coda. Yeah.
Yeah, for Coda, I mean, I think the teamwork has been great. I mean, we definitely put it on display tonight. We're just clicking on all cylinders at G&G, I think. So I think we're going to have good teamwork going into Coda, and hopefully we'll get a couple people in the top 3. And individually, that's where I'd like to try to be. We'll see if I can get there.
Well, all right. Congratulations again for bringing it home second and being our biggest mover. Before we let you go tonight, who you shouting out for your second place finish?
Yeah, we'll shout out Home Depot, TLC, Butt Kicker, my team G&G, and of course you guys up in the booth. Couldn't do it without you.
All right, Roger that, sir. And as I always say, don't party too hard, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
All right. Thank you.
Alrighty, that was Kenny Powell, our second place finisher. Definitely a great job to him tonight for sure. But our next guest is our winner here. Was able to lead 51 laps. Brandon Passalacqua, how you doing, man? I mean, I know that Brian Johnson kind of led the majority of this race, but you took control later. What was the big thing, do you think, that led to that, you taking control?
I think it was I forget what part in the race it was, but somebody stayed out on. I had a quick pit stop, and they started first, and then that put Brian on the outside row in second. And I think I just got a really good restart and launch in the third position, and then I was able to jump up in front of him, and then from there, I just kind of rode in front of the whole race. I worked really well with Brian and Chris the entire night. It was a lot of fun working with those guys, so I appreciate the teamwork there. But ultimately, that's what it came down to, is just that restart and track positions, everything. So was fortunate enough for that worked out for me.
Now, I know coming into this race, you were actually the points leader, if I'm not mistaken, and you haven't won in the Super Cup season yet. Of course, you've won previously before, but not in this particular Super Cup season. This being your first win now, and you being the points leader, I mean, how does that make you feel momentum-wise?
Yeah, no, it's huge. I was kind of bummed out in the first 2 stages. Brian took it home, and I got great stage points, finishing second and third, which is phenomenal. But those playoff points are critical, right? So Brian did a wonderful job and captured those first 2 stages and got those points. So um, from there, each race, the goal is to get as many points as you can. So wherever you can finish in the stages, and then get your best finish. So I was just fortunate and lucky enough to be able to bring it home first at the end of the race and get 5 extra bonus points that will help later on.
Yeah, definitely going to be very important to get those points for sure. Still a long way to go here in the Super Cup season, though, and you being the most consistent thus far. Is that the priority? Maybe not to get wins, but just be consistent?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest and blunt. I'm not one of the better drivers in the series. There's a ton of people out here that are much more talented than me, much more in tune with setups and everything like that. So for me, it's just to keep working with the G&G guys, learn from them as much as I can, and then each race, just the biggest priority is running clean and having a fun time. And then after that, just drive the car where you should finish. If you're fifth best that day, then try your best to get fifth place. So that's my goal every time. Super speedways are a little bit of a toss up, so it was great to get a win here. But for me, it's just don't overdrive the car and finish where you're supposed to finish.
Now, what are your opinions possibly on this track? And I know it's a lot of fun out there, but do you prefer it over the old Atlanta or no?
No, I love the old Atlanta, man. It's great watching this stuff on TV. But damn, I hate I hate racing it. I'm not a big fan of super speedway racing as it is. Gotten used to Dega and Daytona. Here, like Kenny said, everything happened so much quicker. I was fortunate enough to where I didn't have to run a lot of side by side today. So that was great. But if we had to be wheeling all day side by side, that would have been a real pain and a big struggle for me. So um, I had a lot of success at the last version of Atlanta, so I was kind of sad to see it go away. But it is what it is. We race to whatever the new tracks are and what the new rules are, and we go have fun each night.
Yeah, definitely. So it seemed like a whole lot of fun. It was definitely fun to watch for sure, Brandon. I know Coda is going to be coming up next week. I know you're a pretty strong road course racer, wouldn't you say? How you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I'm all right. Again, the goal is to finish where I'm supposed to finish. So I think I can easily, hopefully get a top 8 finish there. It's the biggest thing on road course is just keeping it on the darn track. Coda's very technical. There's a lot of slow turns there, and you really have to be patient with the throttle on exit. Did a few laps there this week, so just try to keep it on track next week and just run your own race there. That's all you can do. So looking forward to it. It's a challenge going to the road courses during the season. So we'll see who comes out on top that day.
Yeah, and I also know, that you and some other members of G&G are actually running, I do believe, the Sebring 12 hours. Do you think I know it's a different road course, but you think that puts you right in the right mindset, possibly?
Yeah, it definitely puts you in the right mindset. Greg and Josh and I have been practicing a lot of Sebring in the LMP2 car, getting ready for that. So we're excited for that, but it does put us in the right mindset. The difference is that the cars are just totally different. The sports cars turn when you want them to turn, where these stock cars don't do such a great job at turning. So it puts you in the right mindset, but the style of driving is totally different. So you just have to make sure that you're patient with the stock car and you're aggressive with the sports cars.
100%. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, Brandon. Congratulations on the victory and getting this win here at Atlanta. I know this is kind of a roll of the dice gambling type of track, but apparently you put all your chips on the right number. That's for sure. You got the victory. Who can we give a shout out to after this big win?
Yeah, for sure. Congrats to Kenny and Ryan on the podium finishes. Like I said earlier, it was a pleasure to work with Brian and Chris all night, so I appreciate those guys working with me. I know Schaffner had a hell of a run at the end too, so it's good to see him up there, and then the rest of the boys at G&G. Appreciate all the feedback, and it's been a lot of fun joining you guys, so appreciate it. Buck Kicker, Kenny ISCA, and then you gentlemen in the booth. Appreciate what you guys do every night.
No problem at all. You guys put on the show, and we just talk about it. Great job, though, Brandon. And hopefully we'll get to see you next week. I know you're usually pretty strong at those road courses, and we wish you the best of luck also in that Sebring 12 hours. That's going to be a long race for sure. But thanks for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it.
Alrighty, that was Brandon Pastelak. Whoops, brought the wrong thing up there. Do a bone. Definitely a great race, though, for him and all the guys in the top 3. Kenny Powell, of course, finishing only, a 10th or so behind Brandon Pastelak. Well, I kind of was wrong, I'd say, Big Al. I talked about being the lead towards those last laps wasn't going to be the place you wanted to be, and I'd have to eat a little bit of crow here. I was wrong, Big Al.
I think it was, I called it was about lap 157, I think. It was when Brandon Pastelak took the lead. And once he took the lead, I mean, he kind of was out there for the rest of this thing. I'm probably wrong on the lap number, but overall, man, what a heck of a show! Awesome production, and I mean, thanks to our sponsors, thanks to the league, and thanks to the drivers for making this thing awesome to spectate as well as commentate.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we definitely saw some accidents out here. The only thing that was elusive here tonight was those green flag pit stops. I was hoping to see that because that was going to be pretty interesting to see. I think that would have changed up a lot of the strategies for sure, but we still did have a great finish, and we still had some good long green runs. Of course, I do believe stage 1 and 2 went completely green, but once stage 3 kind of started, everybody had their elbows out, but definitely a fine job to everybody out there in the field that made their ways out there. I know that a lot of people had a little bit of heartbreak. We saw some guys that were really performing well early, such as I do believe Scott Naslin. He was performing pretty good. Al Kozlowski also had a pretty fast race car underneath him. Paul Olson, he's still pretty okay. He finished in 13th. Derek Jacobs, I was really rooting for him. I got to be completely honest with you. But definitely great job to everybody out there. We appreciate everybody out there also tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to the ISCA. Maybe follow us on Facebook or even Twitter. We definitely appreciate everybody out there and love to communicate with all the fans out there that support all these drivers. But definitely, hopefully, we'll see you possibly this Saturday coming up. I do believe 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be starting the broadcast. Of course, race itself starts around a little bit after 9:30. And we'll be right back here at Atlanta with a whole different cast of characters. But make sure you also tune in if you want to keep track of the Cup Series or Super Cup Series here on Thursday. Next week on Thursday, we will be at Circuit of the Americas and F1 track, which these cars seem like it's actually they handle it fairly well. Of course, not as good as Brandon Pasolaco mentioned, the GT3 cars or those LMP2s, but still, I think we're going to have a fun race there for sure. I know we have a lot of drivers that participate in this series that are pretty good at road course racing, but then a lot of others that are not. So a lot of guys have a mountain to climb after this race here. Probably want to go ahead and get started practicing on that for sure. But definitely thanks everybody out there for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.